In this episode, we chat to the incredible Sasha Hopkins, midwife extraordinaire. She is the amazing midwife from the Born at Home film that we see assist in the breech birth. Watching this film alongside a packed audience at the cinema, we heard an audible gasp when we witnessed that amazing shoulder press. In this chat, Sasha walks us through this birth, as well as some of the amazing tools she's learnt along the way to help women transition more holistically through this rite of passage. Make sure you listen to the end of this one. It gets juicy. Hello and welcome. I'm super excited today because we have an amazing guest on, don't we, Amanda?
We do.
I love this woman. She is the amazing Sasha from the film Born at Home. She is the incredible midwife that gets to assist in the breech birth, which it has become, seriously, Sasha, one of the most impactful scenes for viewers. Like, women walk out of there and it's 100% one of the things they reference as being their favourite part in the film. And so lucky we got that in there because it was a very last-minute add-on. So we're so glad that you were able to help us out with that footage and get that into the film. But of course, you are not just a midwife, you are some amazing things as well. I just want to read your bio out because it blows me away and I'm so excited to get into some of the stuff that you do. But of course, you are private midwife, you are a sacral somatic therapist, you do closing of the bones, so you're a facilitator for closing of the bones, erotic maven, Theta Healing Practitioner, Yoga Instructor, you do Kahuna Massage, and of course, you are an amazing force within the home birth Queensland community. So Sasha Hopkins, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we just have to say a huge thank you as well, just straight off the bat, because obviously you were in the film and you dedicated your time and, you know, those interviews that we did with you, but also behind the scenes, you were just such a great support person for us. Like, you came to the events, the local events that we had, you helped us with, you know, set up, pack down, you helped us man the tables, but you were also a really good emotional support, sort of, you know, when we doubted ourselves or whether we had any questions, you know, midwife or birth related, you were there and you just were always this amazing backbone for us. And I feel like you were one of the most instrumental people in getting this film to where it is, because I really feel like we couldn't have done without you.
100%. Like, Sasha was one of those people that I'm like, you know, 10 o'clock at night messaging like, what do you think about this? Or like, what does this mean? Because I'm not a midwife. And so, like, behind the scenes, so much goes into, you know, selecting people and what to include, what not to include, how do we include it? And Sasha was always someone who I could just like send a text to, and you were just so enthusiastic the whole time. Like, I think without your, like, you're like the engine, like whenever I was like, this is fucked, you're like, come on, this is so good, keep going. Just like ultimate cheerleader. So grateful for you, Sash, honestly. So grateful.
I think it's such an important film that we needed in this home birth space. So yeah, normally I don't like late messages, but I was like, I will answer these. Like, this needs to happen. This film needs to happen. And I know that when you were working. So I've given her the info while she's in that zone now.
Yeah, and that was greatly appreciated because, yeah, as we said in the first episode too, like, a lot of our work was done in the evenings when our kids are asleep. So it was literally the only window we had, other than like having our planned days of filming. But the filming was just such a small segment of what goes into making a film. Like, it's probably, how much do you think, Eleanor? Like 1/10 of actually like how you create a film is the actual filming part, and the rest is like editing and just like scouting, like all the other things that we do.
The filming was easy, the easy part.
It was. And we got to talk to people. I mean, Eleanor worked hard during those sessions, but I really floated around and just had like casual chats with people where Eleanor's circling, doing all the work. Thank you, Eleanor.
That's okay. So, I mean, I guess I love to know why you said yes. So, you know, when Amanda approached you and you said, will you be in our film? Like, what was running through your mind? Why did you jump and say, yes, I'll be there?
If it's related to home birth, I'll be there. So I think, yeah, that's kind of anything home birth related. And I mean, that's why I volunteer for Home Birth Queensland. I just think it's important that the more women and their families know about it and that it's an option, the better. And what better way to get that out there is a film that can be just in that mainstream space rather than looking in the back corner trying to find someone who knows something about home birth. Just felt like a big yes. I make my decisions based on what feels good, and it felt good. So,
And what did you think watching it afterwards once it was all complete?
I thought my head was huge.
Like physically huge.
So seeing your head
On the screen.
the screen the first time, I was like, "Wow, that's a big head." I know that's the first thought. I was like, outside, yeah. Now I've seen it that many times. Lost count how many times I've seen it now, but it's just awesome. Makes you cry, makes you laugh. It's just, and I still get, like you said, women loving the breech birth in the film, and I still watch it and go, yes, like look at that, like that's how it's meant to be. If baby's not doing all the physiological things, that is how it can be supported in a non-intense intervention way that just suits both mum and baby. And I was just stoked that I got it on camera because it turns out my phone was literally sitting up against my knee at the time. The midwife was holding the camera and filming, and because baby had been there for a bit, I told go call an ambulance just in case. And so I just strategically sat it on my knee, like I was on my knees. And after I'd done the shoulder press, I looked down and the camera was face down. I thought, oh, I didn't get it. Okay, damn it. Didn't know, so I just picked it up and filmed mum and dad after with baby. And then it wasn't till late that evening that I watched it back and I went, oh, we got it. And I was just so over the moon that we actually captured it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was such amazing footage. And for those that don't know, that was, like as Sasha said, it was captured on an iPhone. It's just incredible. And like, as someone who is not a midwife, like watching you do that shoulder press, it looked like you had to push quite hard. Like, does it take a lot of force to perform that maneuver?
Yeah, it felt easier than what it had because we tried it in the pool, and I think because of the angle. So the point of it, the purpose of it is to get the back of baby's head to push up against mum's pubic bone to flex the head. So baby's head wasn't flexed, it was deflexed. I'm like doing the actions in the video, but you won't be able to see that in the podcast. So we want baby's chin to come down to the chest. And so by pushing the shoulders, you're kind of pushing upward. And when mum was in the pool, I was above her trying to push upward and like down upward. So it didn't really work. Whereas as soon as we came out and I tried it, it felt easier for me to what I was trying to feel. I felt resistance in the pool because of the angle that I was at based on mum's position and not being in the pool with her. But there's a bit of pressure, but mum was pushing as well. So it's maternal effort too.
I was going to ask about that because we obviously love that footage in the film. Can you take us back and talk us through that sort of birth story? Because it was a surprise breech, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a beautiful surprise and didn't realise until there was legs visible, basically. So second baby, beautiful Hayley, they share the story in the film, so I know she wouldn't mind me talking a bit about it. We were a bit earlier, so we actually planned birth team meeting that day, and so didn't have the pool there yet, and her waters had broken the evening before, and we'd had a chat. I had a chat with the second midwife, so we were 36 and 3. She'd been measuring well. And, we sort of had the discussion, like, what do you want to do? How do you feel? Do you feel safe to continue at home? And mum felt it still felt good for her and myself and the second midwife. So we made the plan to just see what happens. It happened overnight. I would just bring the pool when I came. She contacted me in the morning and thinking about peak hour, I was like, I'm just going to leave early. This was about a 40-minute drive normally for me. So I just took the pool, and by the time I got there, things were cracking on and didn't think we were going to have time for the pool. She ended up getting in her bathtub, and it was just unusual things. So with birth, things when they're deviating from physiological normal, they will declare themselves basically. And so with second babies, from my experience, they can be pretty quick. So hence why I didn't think we had time for the pool. But then she felt the urge to push when she was sitting in the bath, and there just wasn't really many changes. We ended up having time, so the second midwife arrived, so she ended up setting the pool up for her, and we moved her to the pool. And then she started cracking on a bit more, and I thought it was unusual that baby hadn't come yet. I thought it'd be a bit quicker for a second. And she was in a squatting position and declined me using the mirror. And so from what I could see from above the water, thinking 36 and 3, I thought, oh, baby's going to be a little bit smaller. I thought I could see the top of the head and like coming out of her vulva, and that it just wasn't flexed. And I sort of mouthed that to the second midwife, saying, I think like deflexed. That's why we've got a bit of time, why it's taken a bit longer. So, and again, baby was well, listening to baby, mum's well. There's no reason to intervene. We just continue. And yeah, so I suggested changing position just to see if that helps. Sometimes it's just finding the right position for mum and bub. And so she ended up leaning forward, and when I looked around the other side, I could see legs, and I went, oh, that's what's going on. Because as she pushed further, I went, oh, that looks different. That doesn't look like a head. And then looked around the back and went, oh, it's legs and bum. That's why. So I was seeing a bum cheek, not a deflexed head. And so that's the point when Dad had stepped out to sort their little toddler out, and yeah, I noticed. So I just told her gently what was happening, and we had talked about it with all my clients. If baby's breech, I'm quite happy to support that at home. I mean, at that point, baby's coming out anyway. You're not going to transfer. By the time an ambulance got there, baby would be out. So rather than bringing fear, that's not going to serve anyone. You just facilitate that as much as possible. And yeah, and so mum did all the work, and baby just needed to flex her head, and she just didn't want to do that. And there's so the way that it works with a breech birth is once the head's like it's just the head alone to be birthed, it's sitting in the vagina only. And so mum could have contractions, but it's not actually going to be nudging baby down like it does with the head out and bodies inside. So it's all maternal effort. So, and she knew that, and I reminded her again at that point, this is just your effort now, and pushing as much as you can when you can. And yeah, there just wasn't any signs of baby flexing. So we did a few different maneuvers in the pool, but it was an awkward angle. So getting out of the pool just helped. And then the shoulder press worked a treat. So it was amazing.
So good to see that. I'm just so glad that we were able to use it to show people that breech, you can have an incredibly beautiful breech birth at home. Because when I had my first baby in 2017, it was just a no, from midwives, like as a general consensus. Having a baby that is a known breech it wasn't possible. Like you had to transfer to hospital. So I'm just curious, like what's changed? So that's 7 years ago. Is there something that's changed in terms of like the guidelines, or is there more training for midwives now? What is it that's changed in that time?
Probably a bit of combination there. So we have Australian Consultation Referral Guidelines, the ACM, Australian ACM Consultation Referral Guidelines. And so again, it's just a guideline. It's not a law or a policy or rule that has to be followed. It's a guideline for midwives and women to work out what's best and when it's recommended to refer and so on. So I believe breech used to be category C. So you've got A, B, and C. Category A is considered low risk. It could be someone with asthma that's well controlled, or nothing at all has come up. Category B might be a woman who's previously had a cesarean and wants a VBAC, or previously had a postpartum hemorrhage, so 500 ml loss or more. And then category C might be someone who's maybe they're epileptic and they're on strong medications to manage that, or they've had a 2-litre postpartum hemorrhage and were symptomatic and needed other things going on. So that's some examples. It's a big, long PDF. It can be found online if anyone wants to look that up. And so I believe breech used to be category C, and now it's BC. So usually the thought process is if it's C, then it's more obstetric-led. If it's A, it's midwifery-led. If it's B, it's more collaboration between the two, depending on the situation. I personally feel it comes down to the individual midwives' training and like their responsibilities and comfort probably is a better word, comfort with different things. Like for myself, I'm comfortable, as I've attended training for breech, to do that at home, whereas a midwife who hasn't done that may not, and they would refer. Yeah. So depending on the individual scope of each midwife, because that can obviously vary based on training and what they've done.
Was there a push for those categories to change, or what was the reason? Because normally changes come through advocacy. What was it?
I know they get reviewed regularly, so whether they just thought, I'm not sure. I don't follow along those things that much. But yeah, they have to get reviewed every so often, and they obviously decided that. That's right, the training. So there has been Breach Without Borders came 2022. Were we in 24? Yeah, 2022, and did training around Australia for Breach. So I think there have been some really good pushes over in America to just normalise Breach, and then everyone's sort of slowly jumping on, going, yeah, great, let's do this. Because, I mean, once upon a time we did this at home. This was midwifery-led care, and I do feel it was taken from us, and I see it as a reclaiming. When I did my bachelor midwifery, I came out feeling and knowing and trained that I'm an autonomous practitioner, and I can make decisions with the woman based on what she's needing and what evidence we have and research and all those things. And it's up to the woman to choose what's best for her and what feels safest for her, and it's up to us as the midwives to support her the best we can in whatever way that might look. And it might involve calling in more support to collaborate. It might involve just yourself and the second midwife, depending on the situation. But yeah, that training coming, I think, has really helped build confidence. And just actually, like, my mind-blowing moment in that training was really understanding the physiology of breech, because you're really not taught that in midwifery. It's, here's what you do when mum's on her back and you need to do manoeuvres. And I remember questioning that in a hospital setting. We're doing the mandatory training, and it was all focused on the manually, like, manoeuvring baby, and no discussion on, well, what if baby just comes out and what does that look like? And I question that, and it's, no, that's not what we're doing. This is what you're doing. I'm like, but why? Because surely we don't need to touch every breech baby. Like, surely they're doing that for a reason, and there's answers there. Like, anyway.
What is the physiology of breech? Like, what is actually happening in a breech birth?
So there's little things that, like, they go through it in the Breech Without Borders training, but there's things that you're looking at baby. I mean, with a breech baby, you can visibly see it, whereas a head down baby, you can't see baby, and you can't, like, you have to try and find the heart rate through baby's belly, if you're through mum's belly, not baby's belly, if you're concerned or something's not looking within that normal range of what you're expecting. Whereas a breech baby, you can visibly see them. Whether it's colour, you can see their tone. Are they tensing or are they floppy? You can see the cord if we've got to that point. Is it nice and plump and coiled, or is it starting to get a bit flat looking? So there's those little things that gives you an idea of how much time you have, whether you need to intervene or not, if things are just happening quickly. The other thing is, you could just put two fingers on baby's chest, like if it's just like in Hayley's situation with her baby. I think you can see that in the film. I put two fingers, I can't remember if it's cut out or not. I put two fingers on the chest once we're out of the pool, and I could feel the heart rate, and it was normal. So I'm like, okay, great. We've still got a good heart rate. The cord was starting to get a bit flat. It wasn't as coiled, and that's because of the pressure between mum's vagina and baby's head. So we know that there's going to be a time limit around that anyway. And then, what was the other thing? Babies do what we call crunches, or tummy crunches. So they lift their legs up, and that's them trying to flex their head to bring their chin down. So when they do that, that's a positive sign. It's a sign of well-being that baby's well oxygenated. It's trying to work with mum to come out. Before that point, before the arms come out, you can see a chest crease. So if we have our arms close to, or like in front of baby's body, as the chest comes down, you'll see a crease, like a little bit of cleavage. Whereas if the arm is up behind baby's head, it will look flat. So it gives us answers. As baby's coming down, we see little things that we can assess. And the thing that Breech Without Borders talks about is you're really mindful to not intervene unless absolutely necessary, and question yourself. If I intervene now, is it going to cause more damage? Or can I wait? Can I afford more time? Because they say around 5 minutes from the time baby's belly button's born, because of pressure on the cord. But that's, again, variable on the baby and how well they are at that time anyway. So you might have more than that, you might have less than that, just depending on what you're seeing.
It's so interesting. Like, imagine if the hospital had all these skills, like these clinical skills.
Imagine if we learnt this
and,
when we're training as midwives. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a researched, educated, thing. You're not just going into that situation untrained and just, not having any skills and to help.
And the thing is,
Yeah,
I
it's
had
so
2
good.
surprise breaches. That was my second one that year, in 1 year, and they did say that when we did the training the end of the year before, expect to see breaches. So it's like it's the manifestation. You do it, you talk about it, you think about it, and then boom, it starts happening. And I had done the training in November 22, and the first surprise breach I had in March 23, and then Hayley's in October, I think it was September, October that year.
And so, yeah, before we did have another breach video that didn't make the film, just because timing and editing and things, and that was a planned breach. And so, it's just so great to have that on offer for women who have a known breech baby, to know that a midwife can say yes to that. And that was a hands-off breach from memory, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that
you can have breaches that don't need any support.
yeah, and that one is quite interesting in itself, because that woman was offered the option for an ECV, and her instincts were no, but she chose not to. And then when we witnessed the birth, we didn't see that creasing as much with that one, so we thought, myself and Terry Schomburg, who's also on the film, we thought, okay, maybe an arms up, we might need to do a maneuver to help bring that arm down. But gave time. We got mum to stand up, lots of maternal pushing. And when baby did come, I realised the cord was around the neck 4 times, and that's why. And it was just holding baby up. And so the baby needed a bit more time to transition, but beautifully, lots of skin to skin, and just observing, making sure baby was well, but didn't need any resuscitation, just needed stimulation and talking from mum. But I just think about the fact that she instinctively knew that was a no for her. And I think, okay, if that cord was around the neck at that time 4 times and they tried to turn baby, like what could that impact have had on both her and baby, and the tolerance of baby if it pulled on the placenta, like so many other things that I guess I feel don't get considered enough. It's just, oh, you have an ECV, and there's layers and complexities there, and you need to come back to your intuition. Does that actually feel right for you? If it does, great, go for it. If it doesn't, then there's someone trust that.
I definitely feel that personally, because my first was a surprise breach in the hospital, and they freaked out, and I ended up with a cesarean, which was totally unnecessary in my opinion and my feeling, because up until that point, until she realized it was breech, the labor was just absolutely perfect. It was going swimmingly. I felt confident. Even when she said it was breech, I still felt confident. I didn't feel like there was anything wrong. I felt like this baby's just going to come in a different way. And then the midwife was the one who said, oh, I don't have the training in this. You can't have the baby here with me anymore, and I'll need a doctor. And, I got whisked away to the hospital section. I was previously in the birthing suite, onto a bed, monitors, what is it? The thing in your arm, the cannula.
Cannula
In your arm, and just lights on, couldn't go in the shower. Like the whole labor just stopped completely. And it was only because she was uncomfortable, not because there was anything wrong with me or baby. Like they even let me go for another 10 hours trying to birth naturally, because they were monitoring us and the baby was fine and I was fine. But my body was saying, no, you're not safe to birth here anymore, because there's bright lights, there's doctors coming in and out, they're talking to you all the time, they're asking if you want a cesarean now. No, okay, I'll come back in an hour and ask again. So it was just a really, I just felt like because she was uncomfortable, then the whole labor got disrupted, whereas I was comfortable and I had faith in my body and myself, and nothing felt wrong to me. So I just wish that she had the training and just gone, okay, it's breech, let's continue on as normal. But
that dark space so your melatonin could support your oxytocin, like that new research that Melanie midwife's found. I find that just so great.
She was even surprised. She's like, oh, you're going so well, I just want to check. Like, because I thought maybe you aren't progressed, but then she was like, oh, you're actually really far along. Like, I think I got to 9.5 centimeters, she said, before I had the cesarean. Like, it was just there was nothing wrong, and that's what the end result was, because somebody wasn't comfortable with that variation.
And that energy that just would change everything up for you.
Yeah. Is there more training coming up for breech birth?
Yeah, actually, we've got Dr. Stu Fishbone coming to Australia I know he's going to be at Melanie the Midwife's Convergence Conference down in Sydney, and then he's doing a few training sessions around, so he'll be in Brisbane. But I know he's doing online option as well. I don't know if there's any tickets for that one. So I'm pretty sure he's pretty supportive of upright. I mean, I've listened to a lot of his Birthing Instincts podcast too. A lot of upright breech birth as well. So I'm keen to learn from him. And while we're on that topic, so I don't forget, I am in the process of trying to get some funding for a Sophie doll and mum simulator. I will just point out, it really annoys me that the mum doesn't have a name. So the website is Sophie doll and her mother, as if a woman can't be recognised just because she doesn't have a face.
Yeah.
So I will be.
She's just a uterus, Sasha.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Kind of said she will have a name. I will name her when we get her. I'm in the process of trying to raise funds for that. We need just under 8,000 to get one. So then us midwives in Moreton Bay, Sunny Coast, Queensland really, because I know we have midwives come down to Mullaney from Townsville and Cairns to do our mandatory training. We all organise that and do it together. And so to have the ability to keep practicing our breech skills, so that if that happens or we have a woman who wants to plan breech at home, we feel comfortable and confident to do that, because I know there's still midwives that aren't comfortable with that. And I was already comfortable with breech before I did the Breech Without Borders training, but having that, I just had wow moments of yeah, of course, like just understanding that physiology so much more to then go, right, okay, well, why wouldn't I do this anywhere? Like if the woman wants to do it at home, why wouldn't you? There's just no question about it now. So yeah, if anyone wants to offer some money to us so we can raise the funds and get that and have that for training, I would greatly appreciate it. So jump in.
How do people donate that, Sash?
I've just got the link on my Instagram page, Sasha_barefoot_vibes.
We can put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I already told Sash that we donate some money to Eleanor.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you.
Get paid first.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely giving you some money for that, for sure. So it's literally like a doll.
It's like from mum's thighs up to below her breasts, and so it's all open at the back, so you can pop the baby in, so you lube the little baby up and you can put it into a breech position, and so then you can simulate, if a maneuver was needed, how to do that. The way that it's designed is to be on its back, of course. It's okay. My mum knows how to sew, and I've purchased the setup from Breech Without Borders, so we can flip her around and get her upright, and we can actually practice the Breech Without Borders maneuvers that they teach. So that's the plan. I've got her sewing away, and I just need the mannequin now.
Maybe you could have a fundraiser at Home Birth Australia conference as well. I wonder if we could set up a fundraiser.
I don't know if I'm meant to share this with anyone yet, but I'm supposed to be doing a breech workshop there, so I kind of wanted it for that.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
So then they can put it on and actually have a go.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you so much for doing that, Sash, because it feels like, I mean, there would be a lot of midwives that would be really super interested, but I feel like it's just one of the things that is almost like your calling to bring that, those kind of birth variations into normalcy again and get people comfortable with birth again. Because I feel like, I mean, obviously reading your bio, you're not just a private midwife. We can tell that you're hugely passionate about birth in general, about physiological birth, and also the emotional and spiritual journey that the woman goes through, that it is a rite of passage and it is, hugely transformative. There's a massive amount of energy that comes with that, to activate and to heal. And, I would love you to talk through some of the stuff that you do. For example, obviously we know that you're a closing of the bones facilitator, you do sacral somatic sessions. Like, would you mind going into some of those things? And just for the people that don't know that you can have this as part of your pregnancy and birth journey, they might then, try and find midwives who do have that more holistic view on birth. So can you explain to us, firstly, let's do closing of the bones.
Yeah. So before I jump to that, I will add, I do now offer breath work, relaxation and yoga to my individual midwifery clients. So that's a part of, they get a session with me after a midwifery appointment as a part of their care, and just teaching them some breath work. And because labor is such a mental challenge, like, yes, the body's doing physical stuff, but the mind is doing all sorts of things, and you can have those blockages of I can't go any further. And I actually am really loving a breathwork called Kundalini arms, and it involves holding your arms upright either side and breathing through in and out through your teeth in a comfortable seated position for 11 minutes. And it's a really big mental game. Like, yep, it's hard on your arms, but your brain goes, well, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I find just getting women to just push to 3 minutes or 4 minutes, like no contraction is that long, shouldn't be, hopefully. And so that gives them ammo then when they're in labor, that, well, I did 11 minutes or I did 4 minutes of that breath. I can get through 1 minute of a contraction and then I get a break. So just sort of really mentally preparing them now. I've really brought that in and found that helpful. And I hope that the women find it helpful, but feedback's been good so far. And then postnatally, I've been doing closing of the bones for women since 22, I think I learnt. So I was taught by Jenny Blythe, and I've been doing it since then, just to anyone. I wasn't a private midwife at the time, so anyone who wanted it, they could book in, and I still do that. So women who aren't booked with me as a midwifery client, they can book in a closing of the bones, and I just do it in their home. And it is so you're thinking of birth as a big, like you said, it's a big energetic experience, regardless if it's a vaginal or cesarean birth. It's a big process and a massive hormone change for mum, and that transition into having a newborn. It's just newborn, or toddler, newborn, maybe some husband or partner, or there's a lot of energy going out to everyone. And so closing of the bones, I usually offer to my clients around 5 weeks, but sometimes it's 4 weeks, sometimes it's 6 weeks, sometimes it's 7 weeks, just depends on where that woman and her baby are at. And it offers her the opportunity to come back to her body, back to her needs, and just remembering what she needs to fill her cup each day. Because if we don't love and nourish ourselves, how can we love and nourish anyone in our family like as much as what we could? So it's always a nice reminder. I notice in my clients, it's just like, oh, I haven't meditate. If I've got clients that meditate, I haven't done this since before I've had baby, or I haven't sat still since before I've had baby. Like, it's just that remembering of this is actually really nice. And it involves wrapping the woman in cloth. And so just having that held, I add my own little things through my other training. Like, I'll hug the woman, I'll do different things and holds, and like focusing on the chakras. I have a medicine drum that I play over her body as well. There's little things that I bring into it. And just sometimes the most impactful thing is me hugging her. And that's when I often will see a bit of an emotional release, because it's someone is holding her for a change instead of her just running around and holding everyone else. So yeah, it's a big, I find it really important. It's very rare that I have a client that doesn't want it. And if they say that, I'm usually asking them why. I can think of one client, she doesn't like to sit still, and I'm like, I really think it would be good for you. So still working on that. just to have a moment. So it's about 45, 50-minute long session with music and stuff. But yeah, there's traditional stuff side of things, like about bringing the organs back in, but that's more belly binding. Like, just doing a closing the bones isn't necessarily going to bring the organs back in to where they're, because obviously everything gets displaced and moved around when baby grows. But yeah, if you look at belly binding, that's going to be more supportive in that space, and that's more regularly soon after birth. Whereas I'm looking more at the energetics and the remembering of who she is now as a woman, and how she can move forward and feel good in all the layers of her life.
Sounds amazing. And also I've heard that can be done like later on as well. So if someone has missed, they've already had their babies and they've missed those windows of, that early postpartum period, then you can have that ceremony like years later, right? Like, is there like a time frame
Absolutely.
on,
You can do it.
my babies are old now?
Anyone. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got
Kind of.
and I'm in my 30s, and she never had one before that. I've definitely had a client who I think it was a few, maybe 18, 19 years since she'd had a child. So, yeah, there's no time frame. And it's not necessarily that you've had a baby either. It can be you've just finished off a career that you've had for 10 years or a project or something. Like, it's, again, about coming back to your center, back to your body, like a bit of a reset. What do I need now to fill my cup? What's going to serve me? And I always get my clients to set an intention, whether it's something they want to let go of, something they want to call in, both, whatever. Encouraging that. So then it's always good to set an intention before those sorts of things.
Sounds beautiful.
Because I feel like we kind of have lost that as a society, just that, celebrating things, acknowledging the end of things, putting ritual back into our lives, because otherwise it does just feel like it's just go, 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 go. There's all these, it feels like there's all these, things that are half done, half finished, half processed. You're just carrying all of this energy with you, and it's going in, a million different directions. And especially for mums, I think we can all relate to that. And especially because we don't really honour that postpartum period, which, Amanda and I really want to bring that back, hopefully in our next projects, shed some light on that postpartum period. Because it's true, if you don't help mum get back to, that balanced, nourished self, she's got years of giving herself away, from then on. And I think that's beautiful that you add that in to your client sessions. Just that kind of, bringing who's going to hold mum. Like, somebody needs to hold mum. She's holding everybody else. Somebody really does need to hold mum.
I am soon actually offering it to myself and the mum. So I'm going to do it for a mum who's with me at the moment. And then we're going to do it together for her partner, just because of previous birth trauma and stuff. We noticed that came up for him in this most recent birth, and just see if it helps him. He's like, yeah. You're like, no, let's try. I think mum's like, no, I want to do it for you.
Yeah.
She said, I'm going to close your bones.
You're getting your bones
I'm really
closed.
keen to see how he comes out of it and how that feels for him, because obviously I've predominantly worked with women in that space, so it'd be interesting to see how it comes out of it. I have actually been asked recently by some doulas if I would just teach them. So I am actually doing a little mini small workshop teaching how I do closing of the bones to a couple of doulas in Brisbane. So there'll be some others doing it how I do it, because everyone's different and everyone puts their own little flavour on it. And so I've had it done to me by a beautiful woman up in Cairns at a wild woman's bush camp, and just the little things that she did, I was like, oh, I really like that. So now I incorporate that into what I do as well. So it's just finding those little things.
That's so nice. You're so awesome, Sasha. You're so cool. I was going to ask as well, because every midwife is different, like you said, and every private midwife and her client's journey is probably different as well. Can you talk us through, what it would be like having you as a midwife? How many sessions you do before and after, what you incorporate, things like that.
Yeah. So I have like a guide. So on average, it kind of works out around 10 antenatals and 10 postnatals. But again, it's dependent on the woman. A first-time mum might have more postnatals in that like beginning days, or a mum who's got breastfeeding complexities, I might see them twice a week. So usually it's sort of 5 times a week. Jumped straight to postnatal, my bad. In the first week, it might be sort of a couple of days in a row, have a break, and then next day. And by 1 week, you sort of go weekly. But I know I've had some clients recently with some breastfeeding complexity, so I've still seen them twice a week. Or one had LC support, so she was seeing the LC and then seeing me, so she was getting really good support during the week. Antenatally, again, it comes down to the individual client. I have some that like wants to see me pretty regularly. Others I might go, okay, how about I see you in 3 weeks? And they go, oh, do I need to? Could I see you in 4 or 5 weeks? I'm sure, whatever. It depends on what they feel like they need. I sort of put it to them when we get to sort of 37 weeks. I say, okay, do you want to see me in 1 week or 2 weeks? What do you feel like you need? And they know that they can change that if they need as well. And then in regards to labour and birth care, I'm obviously on call from that 36, 37 week. And yeah, just depending on location as to how often I can sort of see them and what's happening with labour. I've been very grateful to have a lot of women a bit more closer by now, and we've had some labours that are stopping and starting, so I can just go and pop by and check in and reassure and tell them how great they're doing, and then go home and come back when they need me. So it's, I try and be mindful of my hours as well, because obviously if there is an emergency, I want my brain to be on point and not tired. So if I generally will tell them, look, I'll sit with you for if I'm trying to work out, do you need me yet or not? And even they might not be sure. Like if a woman says, no, I need you, then of course I'm there. But if she's not sure, then I'll sit there for a bit and just observing is what I do, is observe her and her body changes. And sometimes once I'm there, things crack on because she goes, right, the midwife's here, my body's going to do the things. And sometimes it's the opposite. Things are cracking on, I get there, and me being there is interfering with her energy, and I need to leave for that to pick up more. And so if it feels like it's too early, then I just go home and come back when she needs me.
Isn't it amazing how like your real skills are your intuition? I can feel like you being so in touch with yourself, and then also being able to be almost like that neutral energy, so you can feel her energy and see what she needs, and not having any attachment to that. Oh, feels like labour's slowing down because I'm here. I might just pop away, let her get comfortable. Like to have that level of intuitive
you don't
knowledge.
Always get it that quick, but my very first birth as a primary midwife, it was like thrown in my face. I had Sarah Wickham's In Your Own Time book. I was in the process of reading that book, and it was first baby, and I had to travel quite a bit to get to her as well. And it was like things would pick up, and then I'd get there and it was just like nothing was really happening. And then I read this page in the book, and it says something like, sometimes you actually just need to leave women alone. And I read that and I went, oh, I need to go home. I don't need to be here. And I went home. Like, just like could it be any clearer? So yeah, that was a really good lesson.
Yeah, I wish that was part of the midwife training, like just all midwives. It's just like intuition is just its whole, section, own section, how you need to trust yourself, trust the woman, trust birth. Like really, like that is part of the training. Why isn't that part of the training? I really feel like that's such a huge part of the process. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I was honoured enough to come and be part of a retreat that you did. I got to be the photographer and videographer for an amazing retreat in Yeppoon, and I can see now that you offer it as a service, the sacral somatic sessions for I'm guessing obviously women that you support through pregnancy and birth, but just any woman in general. I was wondering if you could go into that a little bit, tell us what those kind of sessions are like and why you decided to offer them.
Yeah. So Amy Towle, founder of Temple of She, is the practitioner that taught me. And so she's actually a midwife. That's how I know her. I worked with her at Rockhampton Hospital, and someone had mentioned something about yoni massage, that she knew it or did it. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I want to know more about that. And I picked her brain and just been watching her and over the years, and started teaching it. And I was like, I want to do that. That is calling to me big time. So at the time, referring to it as yoni massage, since discovered you can't put yoni and massage in sentence together, because as far as legal terms are concerned, yoni is considered sex work. However, if anyone doesn't know, yoni is the all of the female genitalia organs encompassed. Like it's the energies, it's the physical, that's your yoni. Like if you're referring to that whole space, obviously you can refer to your vulva as your yoni. That's not an issue, but that's kind of what the meaning is behind that. So it's not sex work, just an FYI. So the naming has changed now to sacral somatic therapy sessions, but it is one and the same. And so it is about making a woman realize how incredibly powerful, beautiful, all the amazing things she is inside and out. And absolutely, the idea is that you walk out of that session feeling worshipped, and like you could just walk on the water. No one could interfere with your energy, like it, and it does. You can feel like that after. And so it is a full body massage. It involves an undressing ceremony, and that in itself can be quite incredible and scary because what you do is you stand in front of the practitioner and you remove each item, whether it's jewelry, top, like clothing, all of that. And each item that you remove, you share with the practitioner what you want to let go of. So obviously a woman's turning up for this experience because something's come up for her. There's things she wants to shift. She's looking for alternative ways to shift things energetically. Most of my clients are in that Marga phase. So if anyone's not aware, there's Maiden, Mother, Marga, and Crone. So Maiden is your young teens, young 20s, before you sort of, you get your first bleed to before you become a mother. Mother is obviously mothering, but not necessarily mothering children, mothering projects, businesses, whatever that might look like. And then Marga is that in between, your children have grown up, but you're not, you're still active, you're still wanting adventures, like that's probably the best way to put it. And then Crohn's more your elderly, your grandmothers. And so Jane Hardwick Collins talks a lot about that. Anyway, so most of my clientele in regards to the sacral somatic sessions are in that Marga phase, and they've done all the things, and they're like, right, I want something different, and they're saying yes to something a bit more of what some might call adventurous. So the ceremony of letting things go, so verbally saying that out loud, and then when you're naked, you actually stand there naked and allow the practitioner to observe and witness your body naked, and that's very vulnerable. That's a big thing. And so then I massage I get you to lie down. So it's set up on the floor with mats on the floor, cushions, use warm coconut oil, and I use a heat pack just to make it all cozy and stuff too. And so it's a full body massage on the back. So you've got to love oil. I do pre-warn people, like, is it okay if I put oil in your hair? Like I use a lot. And this is why I'm doing Kahuna Massage, because I've had Kahuna Massage myself and I feel it's a similar style, the way I move up and down the body, like my hand might be down on your ankle and my other hand's up near your neck. So it's that full body experience. And I do massage the head. I go into the hands and the bottom. And so that's the thing, it's all of your body. You're not going to a massage where they miss your pelvic area. It's your bottom gets a great massage as well. And who doesn't love a bottom massage?
Totally.
Yeah. And then we get mum to roll over. Now I'm still in midwife mode. I get the woman to roll over and massage the top of her body. So I don't touch the yoni space, so the pelvic area, without any consent. So at that point, it's just the front of the body, front of the legs. And I always check with her, is it okay if I touch your breasts when we talk beforehand? And when I do touch the breasts, I treat it as a sacred moment. Like I'm not just jumping straight into it, it's ease into it and then gently and move from there. And with the touching as well, it's not just fluid massage moments. It might be what many people would know as light touch. Anyone who's done hypnobirthing or calm birthing, they call it like light touch massage, where you're tickling. So tickling along the skin, getting goosebumps. If we're getting goosebumps and we're tickling, often that's getting some oxytocin. So we're doing all different touches. Some it might be more caressing, like that nurturing of like a hand on the cheek, just feeling held. Some it might just be holding still and hugging, and that's where I incorporated hugging from, because I learnt it, how powerful it was in the sacral somatic therapy, and now we incorporate that in my closing of the bones, of just holding a woman. And I do massage the face. And so then if the woman consents, so I always ask, and I do say to them beforehand, if it's not a full-bodied yes, so when I say a full-bodied yes, I'm talking your head, your heart, your yoni, your womb are saying, yes, I want this. If there's any doubt, it's a no. And we don't ignore the no's. The no's are always heard. And so if the woman does say yes, I'm asking to sit between her legs. I'm not touching anything again. I'm just asking to sit there. And she says yes, then there's a bit of maneuvering of cushions and things like that. And so once I'm in that position, then I'll massage around the legs, just encourage her hips to relax, wiggle her thighs, all that. And again, I'm using my intuition in this space. So if it feels like the right time, I will ask the woman, is it okay if I touch the outside of your yoni? And I'll encourage her to take a breath and feel into that. Does that feel like a yes for you? And if it's not, then I don't go there. And I might say, okay, where do you feel that no? What are you experiencing? What's coming up for you? Whether it's a memory or just a feeling, or some women might describe it as a color, or everyone's different. And obviously, if it's a yes, then I massage the outside, spend some time there. And if, again, I ask again with the right timing, if it feels right, if I have consent to touch the inside of the yoni. And so massaging. And so the way that I was trained, there's a bit of everything. Like I put it to the woman, do you want mapping? Like some women come because they don't understand their anatomy and they want to know what's what. And so, or if they notice something feels good, okay, what are you touching there? And so I explain, this is your G-spot, this is your Skene's gland, this is what this feels like. So really going through the anatomy with them. Or some women just don't want to talk. They're there for the relaxation, and there is erogenous zones all over the body, and of course in the yoni, and there is stimulating areas. So some women can get into a state of turn on as well. And so just supporting that for her. And a woman, I remember Amy said, I've got to try and get her words right. You've got to be willing to go as far as the woman wants to go. And so if that involves her climaxing, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. But she will only go to that if the practitioner is comfortable to hold that space for her. And there's no attachments. There's no, I guess, when you do it with a partner, it's, okay, now I've got to turn the other way and do the other way, like please the partner or whatever. This is purely for her and her needs and what she is wanting. And it could purely just be relaxation and no turn on at all, and that's okay as well. What else? De-armoring is another thing. So sometimes we can have knots in the muscles. So just massaging gently that area that we feel the knot. Sometimes it can be tender. I might ask the woman, is that tender? So there's a few different things that can be incorporated in one session. It might just be predominantly one of those things. That woman might have turned up with an intention for one of those things, and so we focus on that for her. And then once that's finished, I drape a sarong over the woman, give her the heat pack on her belly. I, again, bring my medicine drum into this space. So once I've gone to the toilet, wash my hands, I come back and play the medicine drum over her body. And I feel that's a good way just to sort of ground someone back into their body, whether it's closing of the bones or doing the sacral somatic sessions. And then we do a redressing ceremony. So when she's ready, when she puts each item back on, I want her to share with me, what do you want to call in for yourself? And the most common one is just feeling like this total love for myself, because they come out of it feeling this unconditional love for their body and how they've got here and what their body's been through to get here. And yes, it's just a deep appreciation for themselves. And then, we have a debrief session as well. So I offer the option to have a chat a week or two after. I do send homework. Love giving homework. I give homework to my midwifery clients as well. It's usually like breath work or meditation or particular books. So there's some really good books for this space in the sacral somatic, especially around anatomy. If a woman's not understanding, or she has a partner that doesn't quite understand her anatomy, it's got pages specific for the men, which is great. That isn't there's a subtle way to go, here, read this. And then we check in and just see how, if she has questions or anything from there. But it's amazing. So the sacral somatic therapy session is for women only, so it involves the yoni massage if they consent, and then I have connection touch massage, which can be for men, so it doesn't involve genital touch at all. So of course it can be for women as well. So if a woman's not ready to say yes to that, she might just have the connection touch. So it's much the same, but no yoni touching, so usually on a massage table.
Wow, that is so beautiful, Sash. I absolutely love it. The first time I got to understand, the yoni massage / sacral somatic sessions was when I got to come and do some photography and videography during the workshop, and it just, like, I had tears a lot of the time when I was filming, because I could feel what the women were going through, what, you know, all the stuff that was releasing. Like I could, it was a visceral feeling. I knew exactly who was going to start crying, because you could feel that build and then the release. And it was just, I knew someday I was going to get that. I was like, right, because I was just, 4 months postpartum, so I wasn't ready for that yet. But I was like, some stage I'm going to absolutely go for that, because I just think there's so many women that would benefit for something like that. Obviously, trauma, sexual trauma and things like that. How beautiful a reintroduction to intimacy and to knowing yourself and trusting yourself, and to, seeing all that stuff as pleasurable again. How amazing would that be? It might take a few sessions, and being able to say no, because that's the big thing, having a safe space where someone says, can I do this? And you say no. And I could just imagine someone would have a real, like, yes, that is my healing moment. If I can say no, and then that person go, no worries. Great. Yeah. Let's do something else. That in itself would be healing.
Yeah. There's a lot of power in that no. And like, I've had a few through my training sessions, and like we do upskill training and stuff too. And when I felt that no, that's when I had the release, like the emotional release. And it was, it's like, oh, I can say no. Like you think, I can say no. But then when you actually say it, like, oh, I can say that, that's okay. And it's being respected and heard, and not questioned and asked again to see if I can convince that no to a yes, or whatever that might look like, whether it's in the bedroom or midwifery, going down in that path as well. Like I see that in hospital settings, a woman might say no, and they'll try and reword it and say it again, hope for a yes. It's a no is a no, and that is that. End of story. Yeah. You don't have to change it.
Yeah, I got like tears in my eyes already thinking about how powerful that is. And then as well, I was just thinking, another great option after having a pregnancy, whether or not you have birth trauma. If you have birth trauma, it would be great as well for that, safe space to just come back to your body again. And then even if you had a great birth, there's so much of us that we give to our children. You just forget who you are for a long time, and that you have your own body and your own pleasures and things like that. So even for women after, being a mum for a while, how beautiful to just feel back into yourself again, because we do so much of it is just thinking about other people, their needs and their wants. And then being able to just have a session that's just purely for yourself. Like, oh, it sounds like heaven for me right now with a 2-year-old.
Yeah. And those changing phases as well, like when you're looking at like going into menarche and then the mothering, like because your body changes so much, and there's so much that you carry along, like thoughts about yourself with your changing body. Yeah. And, having something to just check in, go, fuck yeah, I'm awesome. I'm still beautiful, even though I don't look like I used to when I was 19, or I still deserve that pleasure.
Yeah.
And that, even if it's not about pleasure, just that love of yourself in how it's changing and evolving, and that appreciation. Just such a beautiful way to check in. I had a couple of yoni massages when I was in my 20s, and I still feel like, not from Sasha, unfortunately, we didn't know each other back then, but it's just, I still remember those moments as just so like powerfully transformative, even, how many years ago, how old am I now? Like, how old am I? Anyway, a lot of years ago.
I don't know how old am I?
15, 20 years ago. And I feel like they were key moments in my life that I really like sat into myself and realized, if something, like you were saying before, if something doesn't feel good, I can say no. I can like speak up for myself, in relationships and friendships, but more so for me in like relationships with men, and like being able to say, I like this, I don't like this. Yeah. Because I felt like, I don't know, you just you learn so much about yourself in those experiences as well, that you can really carry on for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and that's
really powerful.
Some of the things that the women are coming to, like in that Marga phase, they've just kind of been just settling, and now they're at their phase, they're like, well, hang on, my needs aren't actually being met, and whether it's through a partner or different partners, it's that ability to ask for what you want. And so I do, like with the homework stuff that I give, they give me some information prior, so I've got an idea, a bit of a background of why they're coming and what's their relationship with their body like, and what are their needs, and then and do they have any sexual trauma history or any kind of trauma really? So I've got a bit of a background. But I do look at the chakras, and often the throat chakra needs to be worked on. Like, we haven't been asking for what we want or saying no when we need, and we need to work on that. And some of that homework might be just making sounds and just or ahs out loud around the house, like just actually practicing that sound, ideally in front of people too, because that's where you're going to build your confidence. Because who wants to make weird sounds in front of people? That's embarrassing. But who cares? That's the point I'm trying to get across, is that, well, what does it matter what they think? And usually it's a family member or partner. They're just going to go, oh, okay, that's the thing she does now, makes sounds, but she also tells us what she does and doesn't want. So that's a bonus. They're not going to get confused, or you're not going to get pissed off at them because they didn't read your mind.
And that taking up space as well, like even just making those noises in public, people looking at you, like being, I feel like that's a big thing for a woman, just being allowed to take up space.
Yeah, own it.
Just makes me think of like men and how they sneeze so loudly. It's like, I witnessed it recently. I'm like, you're taking up space. That's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And women don't do that. Men laugh loudly, they sneeze loudly. Everything they do is so noisy. And it's like, why? Like, why don't women do that? It's like, when they're doing that, I just see it. It's just like this bubble goes around them, like, I'm here, whereas like, imagine if we did that with our words and with our sounds of like, yeah, I'm owning this space. I'm here. I'm worthy. I'm big.
Yeah.
And saying sorry, you bumped into someone, oh, sorry. You never hear a man saying sorry, like, because they haven't been trained to do that. We have.
Yeah, it's amazing how many women do this. I remember this. I actually got told this in my midwifery training. This is something that does stand out to me. With beautiful midwife teaching and just making us aware. How many times do you say sorry in the day? Like, we had to do this in the day, like, or for over a week or something. And the amount of times I realized I'd like do something, oh, sorry. Like, oh, why did I even say that? Like, it wasn't even my fault. Like, I didn't even do anything. And so, yeah, I'm very onto that. Like, if I've got clients that are always saying sorry, I've had a beautiful one, had a baby in January, and always says sorry. And yeah, even in labour, she was saying to them, stop saying sorry. She's like, sorry. I'm like, don't say sorry. Just end up in a cycle of don't say sorry. Oh,
yeah. It's just automatic, just in us. And it's so cultural as well. Like, we hear other women, act this way, and that's like the social norm. Whereas men, they see other men act this way, and that's their social norm. Yeah. I'm not saying we need to be like men, but I think we deserve to take up more space than what we currently do.
And it's just a matter of mindfulness, like just pulling yourself up and going, oh, I just did it then. And the more we practice that, the more we can then unlearn that habit.
Yeah, absolutely. What a cool conversation.
I know. This is my favourite stuff. I love birth and stuff, but like, I just love anything energetics.
Yeah. So cool to have those skills like in the birth space. It's so different. This is why like picking the midwife that's right for you is so important as well, because some women, they don't want to sit in that space, and that's okay. But like, imagine the opportunity if you're comfortable in that space or interested in exploring it, and then you've got a midwife who is also on that level and is able to hold that space for you. Like, wow, what an incredible birth experience and postpartum to have those two like fuse together.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely say to women, like, when they inquire, I tell them it needs to feel right for both of us. I need to feel like I'm comfortable with her as much as she needs to feel comfortable with me. But I do refer them to my website and tell them, like, unless they've already found me through that, and I go, read my bio and actually check if I'm the right fit for you, because I'm not your standard clinical midwife. I might be woo-woo or whatever they want to call it. I get called bloody hippie all the time, and I don't wear shoes. And if that doesn't feel good for you, then probably not the right fit for you. And I will challenge you when you want to resist things, because that's there for a reason. I definitely had someone book recently who said she was inquiring between me and another midwife, and I said, look, this is alternative if that doesn't feel right. And she said, actually, I think that's what I need. I need someone to push me down that and get me to do those things, because I encourage the alternative practices of breath work and stuff. So she chose me because she wanted someone to push her in that space and challenge her mind.
I think it's also important to note as well, like, you are all those things, but you were also capable of clinical skills, because sometimes I think those midwives get that stereotype of like, oh, you don't know what to do in an emergency. And it's like you have both of those skill sets, you know, within you. You're an endorsed midwife. You're able to perform resuscitation and know what to do. Like you breech babies that need support, you know, like it's just
Anyway,
such.
I cannulated the other day. It's been a long time. I fucking smashed it. So cannulation.
Yes. So, you know, you've got these skills.
Do it. Fuck it. Like you just, it's there. The knowledge is there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's why you want to interview different midwives as well, because some people will be comfortable with breech, some won't, you know. So there's just like no midwife is the same as a home birth midwife, which is just so cool as well, because no woman's the same, no birth's the same, and no baby's the same. So I love that. Speaking of your website, Sash, I was wondering if you could tell us how people find you, your socials, your website, etc.
Yep. www.barefootvibes.com.au.
I think you're .au. I looked you up and barefootvibes.au,
You know it,
everybody.
I mean, if you put in Barefoot Vibes, it should come up anyway. I chose to go with Barefoot Vibes. I've been Barefoot Vibes for a long time, but then it encompasses everything. So it's not midwifery specific then. I do. Obviously, being on call can take its toll. So the idea of having all these other services is that when I'm off call or need a break from being on call, I've got other money-making tools to use.
Yeah, that you're passionate about. And and your Instagram I know is at Sasha_barefoot_vibes as well. So definitely go and follow her, because she is amazing, as you can hear from this conversation. She's one of our favourite people in the world. Sasha Hopkins.
Love you guys.
You're the best, Sash.
Yeah, just want to say thank you again, because I know how much Amanda relied on you during the filming, and then I got a taste after we finished of how supportive you were. You know, just coming to all the events and just having your energy there, like just energetically, it felt like you were this like positive force that was so strong and so stable. And if we were ever doubting ourselves, it was like you were there, just go, nah, you got it. And I can just imagine that translating to your midwifery practice, where it's almost like you don't even need to do anything. The fact that you are there in that woman's corner would be enough for her to feel confident in the birth, and that she's got this, which I think is one of the biggest gifts you could ever give. So thank you for being you, Sasha.